The sun beat down on Route 12, a cracked ribbon of asphalt cutting through the flatlands of Jefferson County, Indiana. Dust hung in the air, shimmering like a mirage, warping the faded road signs. Inside his cruiser, Officer Tom Harlan sat, fingers tapping the steering wheel, the AC wheezing against the July heat. His eyes, hidden behind standard-issue sunglasses, locked on a dusty Chevy Impala ahead, its Illinois plates catching the light. The car veered slightly, not enough for a ticket, but enough for Tom to notice. Something about it, maybe the plates, maybe the driver's slow, deliberate pace set his instincts buzzing. He grabbed the radio. County 4 to dispatch, pulling a 10 to 38 southbound on 12. Single occupant, male driver. Plate reads Illinois Bravo Zulu 214. He didn't wait for a reply. The Impala was already easing onto the shoulder, gravel crunching under its tires. Tom stepped out, boot steady, the heat pressing against his back like a warning. As he approached the driver's side, Tom's hand hovered near his holster. It wasn't a choice, just muscle memory honed by 20 years on the force. The window was half down, the driver's hands at 10 and 2, unmoving. The man wore a plain gray t-shirt, his face calm, eyes fixed straight ahead. No radio, no clutter, just a military clean interior. Tom cleared his throat. License and registration. Silence. The man didn't flinch, didn't reach, just exhaled softly, like he'd considered speaking and decided against it. Tom's hand edged closer to his Glock. Sir, I need your license and registration. Now. Still nothing. The man's head tilted slightly, catching Tom in the side mirror, one brow raised, not defiance, but something worse, certainty. Tom's pulse quickened. He hated that look, that stillness. It wasn't fear. It wasn't rebellion. It was control. A child's voice broke the tension, sharp and careless from the sidewalk. Mom says people in cars like that don't belong here. A boy called, pedaling lazy circles on his bike. Tom didn't correct him, didn't glance over. The words hung like smoke. He leaned closer to the window. You got a reason to ignore me? Something to hide. The heat pressed in, sweat beading on his temple. The man stayed silent, his calm slicing deeper than any insult. Tom stepped back, voice hardening. All right, we'll do this the hard way. He reached for his radio, but something stopped him, not a sound, but a feeling. The man wasn't just ignoring him. He was waiting. Tom's hand unhooked the holster strap, the click loud in the stillness. Step out of the vehicle. Last warning. The man didn't move, didn't even glance at the gun Tom drew, its muzzle inches from the window. Instead, his eyes looked past Tom, past the badge, past the whole charade, like Tom was a kid playing cop. You think you're smarter than me? Tom snarled. You think silence buys you something? Nothing. Tom's knuckles whitened on the grip. Across the street, a woman stepped onto her porch, her face pinched with disgust, not at the driver, at Tom. He ignored her, banging his fist on the car's roof. Get out, or I'll drag you out. Footsteps crunched behind him. Deputy Sarah Klein, young and wide-eyed, hesitated. Sarge, you sure about this? Her voice was thin, uncertain. Tom didn't look at her. He couldn't. The man in the car moved then, not fast, not threatening, just deliberate. One hand left the wheel, resting on the windowsill, palm open. The message was clear. I'm not resisting. I'm not complying. I don't have to. Tom's voice cracked. You're playing with fire. Obstruction. Failure to comply. I'll bury you in charges. The man stayed stone still, not cold, just certain, like he'd read the script and knew Tom wasn't the ending. Then came the sound that broke Tom's nerve, a soft beep from inside the car. The man lifted a black phone, unmarked, military grade. His thumb tapped the screen, entering a code too fast for Tom to catch. The screen flashed, and 5 words appeared in stark black. DoD Alpha Clearance Verified. A synthetic female voice cut through the air. Priority link established. Secure connection active. Tom blinked. Sarah whispered, "What the hell?" The man held the phone up, letting the screen catch the sunlight, reflecting its truth into Tom's eyes. Back away from the vehicle. The voice commanded, not loud, but final. Tom's grip wavered. This wasn't a lawyer. This wasn't a bluff. This was power he wasn't meant to touch. Another beep. A male voice, rough-edged. Authorization confirmed. Command line open. State directive. The man didn't speak. He didn't need to. The phone pulsed like a heartbeat, its screen showing a black phoenix, wings wide, haloed by shifting code. Tom's hand lowered an inch, sweat stinging his eyes. The woman on the porch was filming now, her phone steady. Sarah stepped back, gravel crunching. "Sarge," she pleaded. Tom nodded, robotic. "Stand down." The man's eyes met his, not smug, not mocking, just precise, like a surgeon who'd already made the cut. Tom holstered his gun, the act hollow. He clicked his radio. "Dispatch, County 4. Situation under review. Stand by." Static answered, and the moment belonged to someone else. The Impala's driver, James Carter, hadn't raised his voice, hadn't moved beyond the phone, but he'd dismantled Tom's authority without a word. The heat clung to Tom like shame, his badge heavy against his chest. He turned away, wiping his brow, trying to regroup, but the air had shifted. The woman's camera was still rolling. Sarah's eyes were still wide. And James, still silent, was still winning. The clip hit the internet like a spark in dry grass. By 7:14 a.m., a silent loop of Tom Harlan, gun raised, froze on a burner Twitter account. By 7:27, it had 20,000 retweets. TikTok turned it into slow-motion drama, Instagram into outrage reels. Reddit split into factions, another cop abusing power versus he was just doing his job. Then came the audio, shaky, filmed by the woman in pink sandals. Tom's voice cracked through. "Don't you move." Fear, not command, bled from his words. The name James Carter became a hashtag, a question, a fault line. A veteran in South Carolina posted a video, his voice steady. "James Carter pulled my squad out of Fallujah when no one else came. He's no nobody." The clip hit 1 million views by noon. The narrative fractured. Fake clips surfaced, AI voices claiming James said, "I don't answer to locals." Cable news ran split screens. Tom's gun versus James's silence. Panelists screamed. One called James a covert operative, another a myth. The truth drowned in noise. Tom's precinct went dark, monitors blinking black. A single email in the inbox, protocol freeze. Code Raven/Black. Dispatch Officer Morales whispered, "This isn't local anymore." Chief Randall stormed in, demanding answers, but the screen stayed dead, locked by a force beyond their badges. "Stand by," they read, and the precinct obeyed. Tom didn't return to work. His desk sat untouched, a relic of power lost. The clip played everywhere: news, podcasts, late-night shows. A preacher in Louisville projected Tom's image behind his pulpit. God waited for the camera because you wouldn't believe him. A teacher in Cincinnati scrapped her syllabus, asking students to write about the day the truth stood still. Deputy Sarah Klein requested a transfer, leaving a note in the break room. "We're shaped by what we allow. I allowed too much." It became a bumper sticker, a vow. James Carter walked into the precinct unannounced, like fog through a cracked window. The desk officer didn't ask for ID. "He's here," she whispered into the phone. Tom was summoned, his steps heavy, like dragging chains. James stood at the room's end, hands at his sides, voice carved, not calm. "I didn't come to ask for anything. I came so you understand. Silence isn't fear." Tom flinched, head bowing, not for forgiveness, but because he feared breaking under James's gaze. Lieutenant Graves tried to speak, but James cut him off. "I'm not here for your agenda or your apologies." He stepped closer to Tom. "You thought silence was submission. It's a choice. I chose to watch." Tom muttered, "What do you want?" James's reply was a whisper, "Nothing. You needed to hear this. Now you have." He walked out, the precinct falling silent as he passed. A reporter, Anna Lee, found a 2015 complaint against Tom, buried in a red folder, signed J. Carter. It alleged excessive force, dismissed as anonymous despite the signature. The final line chilled her, "You will do it again." Anna leaked the file, and it spread message boards, group chats, HR inboxes. Hashtags bloomed. Red folder, Carter spoke. Tom's past unravel other complaints, all buried. His photo, once framed in valor, now sat beside James's signature. The precinct's red folder vanished, but its absence screamed louder than evidence. Tom's end came quietly. Drunk, he stumbled to James's house, shouting into the night, "You're no ghost. You're a lie they sell." A Ring camera caught it, the clip viral by dawn. Internal Affairs called him in, sliding a paper across the desk, relieved of duty. Tom unclipped his badge, leaving it on the table, its clink like a door slamming shut. He faded, not in disgrace, but in absence, his apartment empty, his badge found in a freezer, frozen in a Ziploc with a note. "I thought I'd cooled it off." James wrote a letter to the Department of Defense, refusing honors. "I don't want anyone to bow for me. I want them to lift their heads for themselves." It leaked, was read on live TV by a teenager, and became a placard, a sermon, a vow. Murals rose, uncommissioned, spelling JAMES in white block letters. A librarian framed the letter. A pastor quoted it. We rise because he reminded us we could. James's name didn't trend, it settled, carried in pauses, in chalk on sidewalks, in classrooms where teachers wrote it slowly. Tom faced a closed committee, their questions cold. Did you know James Carter? He lied. No, a folder showed his face in training slides, labeled Phoenix. You were trained to recognize him, they said. Not knowing is negligence. No verdict came, just a stamped receipt. Attended. Tom left, his name a lesson, not a memory. James drove out of town, his Chevy crossing the county line, unwatched, untraced. A DOD clerk logged his plate. Perpetual clearance, honor archive. The road took him, not as a hero, but as a man who'd done enough. The precinct's archive held Tom's file, circled in red, a warning for recruits. James's name lived in silences, in moments when people paused, not to kneel, but to rise. Tom's badge, frosted in a freezer, was photographed, a relic of a man who thought power shielded him. It didn't. James's letter, his silence, his Phoenix, they reshaped the noise. And the world, for once, didn't turn away. What do you think? This story lays bare the raw edges of power, violence, and justice. Did Tom deserve his fall, or was he a product of a broken system? Is James's silence a weapon or a shield? Share your thoughts in the comments, especially on how violence and injustice shape our lives. Take a stand, speak your truth, and let's keep this conversation alive.